This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 88. On today's episode, we've got some major changes coming to WWE television. We'll discuss that. Contracts, who's coming, who's going, who's staying with WWE, and who says adios, as well as some injury returns. We're also going to take a look at what Fyter Fest is holding to win a World Tag Team Championship, as well as the review of Raw and SmackDown. And, of course, we're going to discuss some of the high points, maybe some of the low points of Stomping Ground on this edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Oh, Nolans! Don't you dare be sour! Clap for your world-famous five-time champs and feel the power! It's a new day, yes it is!
5-year deals are being spread out like
Everybody.
candy.
Everybody's getting one.
I get one.
It's like Oprah's handing them out.
Man.
You get one. You get one. Everybody gets a new car and a 5-year deal from WWE.
But if the wrestlers are going to perform like they did at Stomping Grounds, some of them might actually earn it. Stomping Ground was really good, quite surprising. Many people walked away from that pay-per-view going, oh, the competition has started. Seth Rollins has maybe put out the notice. We got the best wrestlers in the world here at WWE. We're going to put on great shows. What was all the talk regarding Stomping Ground? No, low ticket sales, not a lot of hype. But all in all, the wrestling was entertaining. It was a great show. The one thing I'll say, though, is we're going to get into the particulars of it. I would say that the direction in which they've now decided to reveal Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch dating, I would have gone in a different direction because I'm in the belief that you want to elevate your world champion. And when you have, Becky Lynch coming to the rescue of the world heavyweight champion, it just was not a good look in my eyes. It's a preference thing where you say to yourself, okay, Becky Lynch has to save Seth Rollins for him to get W's or to be protected. I know that it elevates Becky, but not at the expense of the world heavyweight champion, especially when you're in a time where people are wondering, what are you about? And to kind of go into that dorky, cute, gimmicky dating thing, I wasn't fond of it. I love the fact, though, they chose Lacey Evans to be the referee.
Oh, you did?
I liked it because it plays into how the story's played out because Seth Rollins says that, okay, anybody you decide I'm going to destroy with a chair. So it forces Baron Corbin to potentially have to look to a woman. And who better else than, the one that's feuding with Seth's on-screen girlfriend and now real-life girlfriend.
Right.
So it was good. I just would have done it where, to be honest, dream scenario for me would have been just give Baron Corbin the title right there. Because the way the story played out on that night, you have Lacey Evans totally playing the heel, a referee. And Baron Corbin's using a chair. She's like, no DQ. Baron Corbin's getting counted out. You know what? No count out. It would have laid out a perfect storyline for Seth to drop the belt in a shocking fashion. Baron Corbin wins it, and then you now have Seth win it back, or you could start what you're doing now where you have Becky Lynch calling it a travesty, and you have Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins versus Lacey and Baron Corbin at the next pay-per-view, and then you carry it over into SummerSlam where Seth wins it, gets another moment, and then rides it out for a longer streak. But, the way the story played out to have Becky rescue Seth Rollins just was a turnoff for me personally. I would have written it to shock everybody. That's a new direction, is to say, hey, everybody expected, obviously, once Lacey's announced, it took the sting out because everybody knew Becky's coming.
Yeah.
We all know she's coming. So it took the surprise out of it, and you're like, well, Baron's not winning. Once they announced it, it was cool, but you lost all the surprise factor in that event.
I think the big question coming out of Stomping Ground is Seth Rollins gay? Because he is obviously dating the man. So that's the big question, I think. But no.
I'm going to say no.
As far as Lacey Evans is concerned, Do you feel like it's just too much of a spotlight for her? Because her match with Becky Lynch,
thumbs down. That was the low light. It was not good.
There were a few botched spots. Becky looked annoyed. There are times where she just comes across as being gifted everything and not really earning it. And it's like you almost need to go back to NXT and do some other things.
Good character, good on the mic, not good with the skills. You got to have the complete package.
Yes.
In the main show, when you get called up, the idea would be that all the training you do in NXT causes you to be a full package wrestler when you get there. Great on the mic, understand how to wrestle, be the total package. Otherwise, what's the point of the call-up and what's the point of NXT? But remember, these are human beings, and this is Lacey's first big match, big card versus Becky Lynch on a pay-per-view where a lot of eyes, a lot of pressure.
Her second big one.
Okay, well, this is one. Don't you think it was up there? It ranks up there in terms of a big match for her. And sometimes in the biggest moments, this thing called nerves gets in the way of like, okay, I got to do this. Sometimes you get too much wrapped up in your head. And especially in the wrestling ring, if you're not 100% crisp and flawless and easygoing with it, you can have some botches. So I think she'll recover from it. And sometimes you need some botch fests in order to really embrace your craft and become a great wrestler. I think it'll help her.
You learn from your mistakes.
It'll help her.
Can I ask you to delineate between the ladies' right and just a regular right hand from Lacey Evans? Are they the same?
Same.
I don't know. I'm nitpicking right now, but these are things that bother me. And I see where the story goes now after we have Monday Night Raw and we have SmackDown. But Samoa Joe felt like a transitional champion. Here's the U.S. Championship, and you're going to lose to Ricochet.
Could someone draw up a run for Samoa Joe for like 90 days?
I mean, run. That's it. Just give him a little bit of time. I mean, he ends up losing to Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is injured, so now Rey Mysterio relinquishes the belt back to Samoa Joe, which didn't make any sense to me. Because normally if somebody's injured, they forfeit the belt, and then you've got to fight for the belt. You just don't get it back. In this case, Samoa Joe just gets it back, only for Ricochet to turn around and beat him. And now I see the direction that WWE was going, and what they did was they subbed Samoa Joe in for Rey Mysterio. That was all they did. But good God, man, sometimes plans have to change, because at this point, Samoa Joe is kind of a laughingstock. I find it really hard to take him serious, and I just know all the good work he did. He did great work in an organization like TNA. Let that sink in. TNA.
When wins and losses don't matter, you hurt the credibility of the wrestler. And one of the biggest wrestlers that's lost credibility is Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
How can he be viewed as a destroyer when every 3 weeks he's dropping a title?
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have marquee wins that are consistent. Samoa Joe is a perfect candidate where you say, okay, if you just shine a spotlight and you say, he can't lose. Put him in a feud with AJ Styles. He doesn't lose. Put him in a feud with Ricochet. He doesn't lose. Put him in a feud with Cesaro. He doesn't lose. You now, in a year, I do believe you have a superstar. But in this new era where WWE doesn't want to create these stars, I think that they're missing out on the potential to make big money because he's believable. He's a killer. He's a guy that's established. He could be on par with AJ Styles. But I just think that the one thing that we're not going to get, we're going to get better shows. We're going to get better wrestling. We're not going to get commercials through our wrestling matches anymore. We're going to have better stories. But what I think the biggest thing that would send WWE stock through the roof is create stars.
Yeah.
Let that happen. You have 3 of them right on your roster. Samoa Joe, Cesaro, and you have AJ Styles. Boom. You could shine the light so bright on those guys that you could have a company that would be unrivaled in the entire world. But you don't.
This is the deepest roster WWE has had, I think, ever. And you've got such talented wrestlers up and down both rosters, right? Actually, we don't even have 2 rosters anymore. Up and down your main roster with Raw and SmackDown, as well as guys coming up in NXT.
To me, Drew McIntyre's a star. Yeah, he gets booked to lose.
All
and
the time.
What do we say?
And why does he need to pal around with Shane McMahon? Doesn't make any sense.
We called, and I recall distinctly, we said there's a couple guys that are going to have big years. You know, egg on our face, we said Rusev.
Yeah.
Where's he been?
Yeah.
And we said Drew McIntyre, poised to have a big year. Bro, it's been 6 damn months, and you got him, carrying Shane McMahon, who's damn near 50.
Yeah.
Those guys should be stars. I think, Drew McIntyre could be easily already in the title picture. What more do you want? The man went and left the company to build his brand back up, came back, and has been really one of your best guys. You want to see what he does. He's a great wrestler. His music, his entrance, he's got the whole package. He tells good stories. He's got the look. what else? What more do you need to give, Drew McIntyre, Samoa Joe, or some run? And I think potentially you're going to lose a couple more guys naturally because of the way you've used them. Wins and losses should matter, especially in WWE. They're starting to make the changes, which has been impressive. It makes the shows more watchable. But the biggest thing they got to do is elevate a couple more people to superstar status. Like, look, instantly Ricochet wins at Stomping Grounds. What happens next? You stick them right there and announce a match with AJ Styles. Boom, I'm interested. Why? Because AJ's the man. Yep. And I was actually surprised he won, which was awesome.
I was surprised by that, too.
Yeah, but more of the same with Gallows and Anderson losing. But I do think it's going to turn around, hopefully, for them. But overall, Stomping Ground was great. Matches were quality. It was good. And it also carried into momentum with what we saw on Raw, highlighted by when you have AJ Styles Ricochet. They were impressive as hell. I wanted to see it. I was excited to see it. It was the first time in a long time where I was like, man, there's some surprises. There's some hype. There's some buzz. The crowd was into it a little bit. The one thing, though, the one drawback I will say, some of the fans, when Lacey was announced at Stomping Ground, a little disrespectful by chanting, "This is stupid, AEW." They were a little unimpressed with Lacey. I can see why.
Well, she had a match earlier that night where she looked like trash.
Yeah, so they called it stupid. They weren't happy with that booking. But all in all, it was the story to tell. It was the right call. The fans just didn't buy it. And I think WWE's in a pinch in that you got unruly fans ready to crap on stuff that's, crap on the stuff that needs to be, not that.
This is something that they have created, right? They have created this monster because they've shoveled shit down our throat for so long now.
And I tweeted out, too. I said, Lacey, it's okay. It's the right story, but it doesn't have the sizzle. You gave me okay. You gave me a 6.5 surprise, whereas on a pay-per-view, you want a 9.5 surprise. The last disappointing thing I'll say is the match between Kofi and Dolph Ziggler should have been the match that they had at SmackDown that took place at the pay-per-view. The match at the pay-per-view was okay, but
it was a little slow, a little plodding.
It was not what we saw on SmackDown. Right. And I'm like, well, if you guys can produce that, why didn't you do that on Sunday? You had a better match on a TV show than you did on a show that's on pay-per-view. But other than that, the matches were good, quality. I like the fact, hey, even the Cruiserweight got a new champ, and it set the tone for a great night. So overall, my thoughts on Raw were, hey, I was excited to see it. And we had a major surprise, a major return, and one in which I was genuinely shocked at how over The Undertaker still is. He garners the biggest pop in the company, and I'm shocked. And I don't know if that's an indictment on the lack of stars or what's going on behind the scenes, but for a man in his mid-50s who's coming off of a stinker of a match, shows up on Raw on your flagship and is cheered wildly, it's a statement to what you've done with the rest of the wrestlers. But it does lend to the question, why is the Taker helping Roman Reigns?
I didn't understand that either. None of that made sense. He just showed up out of nowhere. Also, we now, for Extreme Rules, we now have a match where we've got two 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
One who's not in any sort of good shape, and one who's got a bad. I mean, he's had hip surgery, but that hip still isn't good. You see how high he got his leg up to kick Drew McIntyre, teaming with two guys who are arguably,
so you got to be 50 to be over.
Could be the biggest stars in this company, in Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. I don't know why those two guys have to have all this dead weight around them. I'm not sure why Undertaker's still wrestling. I mean, is he trying to clear his name for what was absolutely horrible in Super Saudi Money 2? Is that what we're doing here? Or is this just another way to help elevate Shane McMahon? I don't understand why Taker's in this spot. I don't understand why Shane's still here. You've got so many guys. Just elevate the guys. Like Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, that's a story I want to see. But I don't want all the interference. I just want those two guys to go out there and have a wrestling match. And I'd like for Drew McIntyre to win 2 out of 3 of those matches. And then have Roman win one.
You know what's happening today as we speak, because Wednesday's meeting day at WWE headquarters. Vince, the writers, they're thinking it. How much for Cena? It's been brought up. They're thinking, you know what? Ahead of TV, ahead of Fox, we got to get buzz. We got The Undertaker, great pop. That was some good shit right there, guys. Probably like, you know what? Got to get John Cena back. How can we get him in the mix? We got to have Cena. I really do think that. I mean, now it probably won't happen because they're like, come on, Vince. We got to move away from Cena. He's part-time. He's going to command a boatload of money. That'd be good shit, man. Bring John Cena back. Get him that title run.
He loves John Cena. If you're Shane McMahon, do you look at John Cena and you're like, he loves you more than me?
Yeah. You know, it's an indictment on what's going on with the company that 250-year-olds are in the ring. Look,
It's messy.
the reason why Undertaker's there is they need a pop.
Yeah.
When they go, you know, it's unfortunate that you have to go to a guy that age to get your pop, but it's unfortunate. It's an indictment. But, hey, when the going gets tough, got to call up the Undertaker. Give him a call. How much does he want? Another fucking $1 million? Damn. All right, he's worth it. Bring him up. You know, that look how much money he makes to work 5 matches a year.
Yeah.
And
It's the same thing with Brock, though.
and also, too, I wouldn't put it past Undertaker, you know, knowing now that AEW's there, he's like, Vince, we got one more challenge, buddy. We've gone through WCW. Impact never made a mark. I got this. Use me. We can win this war. And Vince is like, that's some good shit, brother. I know I can count on you.
Some good shit.
That's some good shit. Undertaker, you want to in? How many more matches you got? How many can you give me? Can you stick through TV and Fox? We need you.
This is what happens when guys die in the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid stuff like this.
Both of them are probably like, and I think also for Undertaker, it's renewing. Like, okay, you know, imagine if there's this new hot upstart company, AEW, that everybody loves, and there's this concerted effort now that the wrestlers are saying, hey, we got good wrestlers. They say, hey, we got the Undertaker, we got this guy, we got Seth Rollins, we got great performers, Finn Balor, Nakamura. They're now having a concerted effort to tell everybody that WWE is where it's at. So what better way to say than, hey, we got the Undertaker and one of the greatest entrances of all time, but a guy that can't stay in the ring more than 5 minutes.
When you're an entrance, and you're only an entrance, nobody needs to see you in the ring.
I would say if Undertaker really wanted to be an OG, he should be a valet. He do it to show up. Yeah, but now with the entrance, just show up.
He cuts a great promo.
Yeah, just show up and be a manager. Be not 1 year run. If he says, hey, this is my last year, I'm going to pick a talent, and maybe it's The Miz, or maybe it's someone he just gets behind. Maybe it's Roman Reigns. You never know. But to see more of the Undertaker, I think would be cool, but not wrestling.
Yes.
More presence. And I guess it leads to the question that everyone's kind of talking about is, what's up with Bray Wyatt? When are we going to see him? Is it time?
We'll discuss that in news and notes.
Tease it.
So we're going to tease it. Update on Bray Wyatt. Stick around to the end of the podcast.
Okay.
I think something interesting is happening with AJ Styles, though.
Yeah.
And I want to discuss this.
Very interesting.
Because AJ Styles has been doing more and more with Gallows and Anderson.
Finally.
And yes, we've all been pining for it. We've all wanted it. It really feels, especially with the way the question was posed to him in the back by, I believe it was Charlie, it seemed very short, and she was very curt with him, and he seemed a little taken aback by it. And then he stopped the interview to go talk with Gallows and Anderson, who were dancing around with the No Way Jose's entourage. He seemed fiery. He seemed upset. It really feels as though we're going to get a heel turn with AJ Styles, and we're going to basically reunite the Bullet Club, WWE style.
I'm all for it, but not this way. You've already buried Gallows and Anderson. You want to bury him again?
Right.
It's like, what do you want to do? Just keep throwing shovels on him, dirt, and like, look, you've already buried him for a year. Just reunite the club already. This is a payoff that's already been 2 years in the making. You introduced this 2 years ago. Gallows and Anderson had won the tag team titles, but then their run was short. You've teased this. So now you're going to tease this again where AJ's like, where are you guys? Where's the passion? You guys have been hokey. You guys have been the Good Brothers, and that bit was terrible. And then you go out there again and lose to the Viking experience, the Viking War Raider experience. And
by the way, Michael Cole messed that up when he was calling that match.
Yeah.
Which was funny.
I thought it was funny too. So let's give them all different kind of names. But in the end, it's like when the reveal happens, how credible are Gallows and Anderson gonna be? Because of the fact they're losers. But and
do they need AJ Styles to make them good wrestlers?
Unfortunately,
I don't think
that's
so.
the setup that makes it worse. Is that you're setting it up where AJ Styles has to give them credibility,
right?
Where Gallows and Anderson are legit badasses. Like you've delegitimized them by turning them into losers for 2 runs, entering into a gimmick. Come on, when you give them a run, just announce it already and enter into the next storyline with some destruction. Like, okay, all you got to do is not that hard. The Viking War Raider experience, come out, have a match. Gallows and Anderson interfere. We're here now. It's a new era. You don't have to have matches. Just have them run in. Cost some people. Oh, the Usos have a match. Here comes Gallows and Anderson. It's our time. You never know when we're gonna pop up. Pay attention.
You can do this whole, if you really want to do like a new gimmick. You don't even have to change their outfits, really. You can do this whole bandito thing. Have them cover up parts of their face with a mask and just kind of run in and drop guys.
Yeah, not the mask,
and then
the bandana. The bandana.
Yeah, take it off and just drop it on them and walk out.
That's it.
That's it. It's something as simple as that, and then just pair them with AJ. It's that easy. Honestly, it's not that difficult.
It's not that hard at all.
Overall, though, I think you're right. Raw was much more enjoyable this week.
I loved it. Good show.
It was a much better
and then,
show.
what can you say? Ricochet and AJ Styles, more of the same.
Yeah,
let's see more of that.
It was awesome. We did have a Nakamura sighting on
Shinsuke
on SmackDown.
on TV.
Yes.
What?
We had a Nakamura sighting on SmackDown, which I thought was cool. And this is another guy who was part of that Bullet Club entourage. Finn Balor was looking for his next competition for the Intercontinental Championship, and Nakamura shows up. And the crowd erupted. And this is something that I think we've all been pining for. We've all wanted to see this now, like you said, for almost 2 years. We've all wanted to see this forever and a day now. And now we're going to get it. And I think this is going to be a good match. And I think this is going to be good for both of them.
Last chance. I'm excited to see it, but I'm primed for disappointment because Nakamura hasn't shown that he can carry a feud in the ring.
Well,
now,
I was going to ask you, who does this feud help more? Does this help
Nakamura,
elevate
for sure.
Nakamura more, or is this going to help elevate Finn more?
Shinsuke has a lot more to lose because of the fact I think this is his last big feud. If he doesn't perform and actually have a good match, a payoff, I think it benefits both parties, but Shinsuke has to perform.
Yeah.
You can't just keep giving him feuds and then the match suck.
Yeah.
So this feud, however it turns out, I think Finn's going to go over multiple times, but Shinsuke has to perform. You have to kind of ride some momentum from being in the ring with Finn Balor. And if you don't, I think it's time to cut bait, and I don't think even if he does go to AEW, he'll be that big a star because you can't wrestle.
He'd go back to New Japan.
If you can't wrestle Finn Balor and get over, you got problems.
Well, here's the thing. They have chemistry, so it should be good. This is the thing, though. I think Nakamura should win the strap off of Finn. And I think what should happen is we're already creatively booking AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson, essentially reuniting WWE's version of the Bullet Club. Why not then have them go pick up Finn Balor? So now you've got this this party of AJ and Finn who are top notch. You've got Gallows and Anderson who can be the heavies, and look, they're upper mid card guys, right? They do have potential, and you could have them essentially run amok against Nakamura. So now you give Nakamura a face. You've turned Finn heel, AJ's heel, Gallows Anderson are heel. I think this does a lot for everybody.
Yes.
And you're giving a rub to Gallows and Anderson off of Finn and AJ, and I think AJ is the face of this group, and that also gives another rub to Finn, and Nakamura is basically challenged by this group for that belt. And I think you can have really interesting matches, whether it be with AJ or with Finn. At some point, though, you have to get all the belts on these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Agree.
I think it would be really interesting. And then Nakamura could then team up with whoever else to go against the Bullet Club. And you could have these 8-man matches. You could have 3-on-3 matches. You could do different things. I think it just opens up a world of possibilities that WWE doesn't explore enough.
Now, before we decide which show was better, I'm leaning heavily toward the Monday show. We'll talk about it. I did win the Calling the Card.
You did.
I smoked you.
You smoked me.
I closed the gap with the lead. Now you lead 10.5 to 10. I got lucky in that I was correct, in that I picked Ricochet and Roman Reigns, and they both delivered. And lucky for me, you're only up by a half.
That's right.
Good stuff. So which show do you think was better this week?
I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Raw.
100%.
I think Raw was better.
When you have AJ Styles, when you have a great match like that, when you have some intrigue, I think it goes a long way for your show. And although SmackDown had Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler putting on a great match, by and large, you had a lot of situations that piss people off. Mm-hmm. 2 out of 3 matches, I totally dislike, which I don't understand why they keep doing it. I like the fact that matches are starting and stopping without commercials. I like that. But now when you have multiple 2 out of 3 fall matches, that's odd.
Oh, we're going to talk about it in news and notes.
Maybe we'll wonder why. Maybe we'll figure out why that's happening. And then the idea that you have a match with 2 tag teams and then others get involved and then you add on to the match. And I just don't like continuating matches that already took place. I just felt like you're totally misusing Daniel Bryan and Rowan, the New Day. And it's just like, come on now. You don't need to involve all these teams and continue storylines. And again, they started the show with, here's a promo that's going to lead to a match. And the emphasis on Shane McMahon is just too much. So by and large, for all those reasons that I gave, Raw was better this week.
Yeah. I'm
Chip
right
it
there with
away,
you.
making a little comeback.
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
bit.
All right.
Do you feel like Raw is maybe hurting SmackDown just a little bit?
I think the idea that some of the talent that's could be featured on SmackDown isn't now because a lot of the talent have to be used on both shows, definitely is hurting. I mean, there's more and more talent that aren't being used.
It feels like at this point Raw gets the nod from Vince and creative saying, hey, most interesting stories have to go here.
Yeah.
And Raw is the bigger draw out of both of these. Most people tune in for Monday Night Raw over SmackDown. But that being said, the last 2 weeks, I think, show you where their attention has been focused.
Free show alert. If you are able to stream content via the Bleacher Report, you're able to watch Fyter Fest from AEW, a show in which I think it has good hype. It's not like you have to sit down. It's not appointment viewing, but it's the next show for AEW, so we're going to talk about it. I'm definitely excited. This is the show where we get our first AEW wrestling match from Jon Moxley.
Yes.
So I'm happy to see it.
This is the follow-up to Double or Nothing.
Yes.
And this
Joey
is...
Janela.
You have to see how this organization...
He's going to destroy him. Yeah.
How this organization is going to capitalize on that momentum that they had.
Yeah, Jon Moxley is going to come out to a huge pop, huge ovation. If they want to do it right, 4-minute match. You don't even need to work them. Yeah,
quick.
Quick. Jon Moxley comes in, gets his stuff in, maybe a little pushback from Joey Janela, but in the end, boom, go into the DDT and end it. And
it's all over.
All over, quick. It's all you need is that you want to build up this monster character in Jon Moxley. Or, if the match goes longer, Moxley's got to be a crazy animal. Like, I'm scared of this dude.
Right.
Is the vibe you want to give off. But all in all, the card seems fine. I like the fact that if it's free, you could probably watch it at a later time on demand. And I like the idea of some of the tag teams and things like that. You had a thought about SCU versus Best Friends versus Private Party and the stipulation. What's up with that?
So at Fyter Fest, the winner will get a bye in the first round of the World Tag Team Championship Tournament at All Out. So my question was, do you like this? Because I think this is interesting. You have to formulate new ways to present your brand new titles. And by doing them tournament style, I think is super interesting. I think that's awesome because you get to expose everybody to as many different people or as many different groups as possible. And by giving them the bye, I think that's awesome. I think it's a great reward. It adds a level of intrigue to this match because SoCal Uncensored, Best Friends, and Private Party, it's probably going to be a very good match. But other than that, what do you care? You don't care. There's nothing to care about here because nothing's on the line. It's just dudes going at each other. You don't have any storyline. You don't have any heat. You don't have anything that has built you to this point. It's just one of those matches. So by adding this stipulation, I think this does a world for their tag team tournament.
Wins and losses matter. So what that means is not only for record, but hey, when you win, you get a bonus. Or when you win, you get some acknowledgement. Or when you win, you maybe move up the ranking list to get your title opportunity. So when wins and losses matter, you understand why. And so the winners get a bye in the first round of the World Tag Team Championship Tournament. So it means something. And if you've got a chance to go online, check out the story of Private Party. They've kind of talked a little bit about their backstory and working together and their training on some of these videos through AEW. Good stuff. I think they might have an opportunity maybe to surprise some. They may have an opportunity to surprise some people, but the odds-on favorite in my mind, as we're talking about this, SCU should walk away with the bye because they're kind of the it team. They've been around for a while, and whenever you have Christopher Daniels, you have to show respect. But if there's going to be a surprise team, if it's not SCU, look at Private Party. Don't sleep on them. They're up and coming, they're young, they're hip, and they're different. So check them out. Private Party, interesting in AEW.
I think SCU probably gets the win here and gets the bye, but I think Best Friends are probably your sneaky second. You like Private Party, I'm going to go Best Friends. Next week, because this show was a little bit jam-packed and last week's was a little bit jam-packed, we will be reviewing, it was King of the Ring 2001. It was the Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle match where Shane basically goes through the glass window. So we'll be reviewing that and breaking that down. So you want to tune in next week for that.
Any other matches on AEW's Fyter Fest that catch your eye?
Off the top of my head, besides the Jon Moxley, Joey Janela one.
Is it the Bucks and Kenny Omega?
Yes. It was the Bucks, Kenny Omega,
versus Lucha Brothers.
And Laredo, was it Laredo Dragon? That one looks really interesting. That's going to be a great match. Like, all those guys can fly around, and they're awesome. So those are the two that I'm really, really watching. I find Chris Jericho's antics on the outside all of this to be hilarious.
Yes.
There are times where he is protesting this show, and he is basically said he's removed himself from it. He was never included on the card, but he has removed himself from it. So Chris Jericho is very, very entertaining.
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What you got in the world of wrestling?
All right, we talked about Bray Wyatt earlier. Well, he is gearing up for a return and should be back sooner than later. Anticipation is possibly next week, if not next week, the week following that. Rey Mysterio is also on his way back. He has a target date for the Raw episode that'll take place on July 8th. Now, Seth Rollins and Will Ospreay got into a bit of a Twitter spat. On Twitter...
Who's Will Ospreay?
Who is he?
Baron Corbin joined
awesome.
in. Yes, he was like,
Freaking
I don't know who
awesome.
that is, but I just want to chime in.
Seth Rollins posted a tweet saying, "Doubling down, best pro wrestling on the planet. See that cruiserweight triple threat? And that's just one night, one match among the many. Find anyone else who does what I do as well as I do, as often as I do it. You can't." And Will Ospreay responded, "I'm alive. And if you've never seen anything by Will Ospreay, just Google." Amazing in the ring. Absolutely amazing.
Seth also gave props to Ricochet, saying, look, this is what we got here with the U.S. champ, and we got him and you don't. So It's interesting. I think it's perfect for Will Ospreay to get in the mix. I think the edict has been to state this message and to fight back a little bit. But the tough part is that Seth is towing the company line. It's just not accurate. There's a lot of great wrestlers out there. So to say WWE has the best wrestling, you can say that, but if you're not doing it every week, when you only have one or two matches that you could say are 4-star every week, then you could say, you know what? Will Ospreay, you have Kenny Omega, you got Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho matches. You have great talent. You could say, potentially, honestly, that WWE has the most potential, but the mix you have to add is you don't have the ingredients for success because you're not shining the light on these guys.
Right.
Wins and losses don't matter, and some of the matches, because of the schedule or for whatever reason, you think that they're going to produce great matches, but they don't. Lacey versus Becky was disappointing, and Kofi Kingston and Dolph in a pay-per-view didn't live up to the hype. So you've had some title runs. I mean, just 2 years ago, Jinder Mahal's title run was terrible, widely regarded as a waste. So Seth is great for doing it, but at the same time, you're also now allowing these other wrestlers to get over by chiming in, and they have a legitimate argument. Baron Corbin played a great heel and said, I just want to chime in, but I don't even know who Will Ospreay is, which I think is ignorant because they all know who he is. It's just, it's something that doesn't come off as 100% genuine. It comes off like, okay, Vince is telling him to say that because there's a lot of great wrestling out there. There's a lot of great wrestlers.
If you paid attention to what's been going on since Jon Moxley left WWE,
they're pushing back, which is good.
Everybody has been bashing WWE and their creative. So now everybody's pushing back. And Seth Rollins has taken it upon himself to lead the fight for WWE.
Yeah.
If you want to talk smack about WWE, you got to go through me first. Funny, as this Twitter exchange went on, Will Ospreay posted a tweet that said, "Fact of the day, Will Ospreay wrestled more matches in 2019 than Seth Rollins." He says, "Catch up, little guy," with kissy face emoji.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins didn't back down. He said, I mean, if you want to talk numbers, we can compare bank accounts too, which I think is cheap. Whatever, dude. You work for freaking the largest wrestling organization in the world. Get over yourself. He also put, P.S., that's coming off a month with a broken back, buddy. And then Will Ospreay says, "You love adding stuff, don't you? I mean, the original question was, find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do as often as I do. No talk of money, no talk of Ricochet. You said anyone. Here I am. Just as consistent, just as good. Hope the back heals up." I love it. I love Will Ospreay because he just doesn't care.
That's how you get yourself over. It's the best way. It's how you build your brand. And you know who's a master at it? MJF.
Yes.
Dude, go online. The guy's like feuding with everybody. You just tag him and he'll be like, "You're an idiot. You're a moron. Leave me alone. Why are you messaging me?"
You should do that from ours.
Yeah, right? We should.
So Rusev's contract is coming up with WWE.
Who?
Right. Can we see him? Is he on a help wanted poster? It's believed he's very unhappy with his position within WWE, obviously, and could be the next superstar to exit. Sticking with contracts, Mojo Rawley just recently re-signed with WWE. Jinder Mahal just signed a 5-year deal, according to Dave Meltzer.
5?
And it's believed Brock Lesnar may have signed a long-term deal since the UFC is now currently off the table.
That's a no-brainer.
Of course. We discussed that the moment he made his surprise return at Money in the Bank. So changes coming to WWE television.
Oh.
According to the Wrestling Observer, Vince McMahon has told producers that all matches should start and end in the same segment.
Yay!
And the increase of 2 of 3 falls matches as well. And that's because commercials can air after the pinfalls. So you get longer matches and you get your commercials to break up basically the reset of that match. It's unsure and it's unclear if the matches will be longer or if there'll be fewer matches or if there'll be more commercials in the middle of the matches. Vince apparently said this to the production meeting or to the production staff in the production meeting and then quickly moved on. So, like all things with WWE,
could happen, could not.
Kind of half-assed.
Yeah.
But I think you will start to see more 2 out of 3 fall matches, and I think, again, it is because he's trying to cram the commercial breaks around the wrestling. And don't be surprised if we have shorter matches on television where instead of it going for 25 minutes, you're going to get just a 10-minute match.
Props to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for getting a W. They were buried last week. They got the W on the pay-per-view.
They did.
Look, man, look at all the stars you potentially could have. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn,
Braun Strowman.
You've
got
Drew McIntyre. And
AJ
finally,
Styles,
The Miz.
Finn Balor.
6 guys
Miz.
right there.
I mean, not even trying hard. Samoa Joe. I mean, we could just go down and go on. This is the thing. You've got so many guys that you should have the most competitive brand of wrestling, and it should be the most entertaining.
You should be having ratings in the 5s every week.
Yes. Yet, you pump out crap. I mean, the crap has gotten better, but it's still crap. You know? Like, I really hope Fyter Fest is awesome, just like Double or Nothing was, just like All In was. I hope it's incredible. I really do. And I hope their television is awesome as well, because I want people to see other stuff that's been out there. Like if you've had any chance to watch anything from New Japan, it's phenomenal. You've had any chance to watch some of Impact's, not everybody who wrestles for Impact is great, but some of their stuff is awesome. I'm trying to tell you guys, and everybody thinks I'm a dummy and thinks I'm an idiot because EC3 came from Impact, right? He was freaking awesome there. He was incredible. Eli Drake was amazing at Impact. EC3 comes to WWE, the guy holds a 24/7 belt for all of 25 seconds. And basically loses to a Carmella distraction. I mean, she's hot, but, I'm not dropping a strap for her.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's just a mess.
So many stars, so much wasted potential. But hopefully, as we continue to record the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, these talent are utilized properly. That'll be the best thing moving forward, and to provide some competition between AEW and WWE. It's happening, cuz.
I just want you guys to stop laughing at me when I mention EC3.
Yeah, right.
That's all I want.
Who?
Right. What guy? I just want you to stop laughing at me. That's it. The guy looks like he's chiseled out of granite.
Yeah.
The guy's a $1 million mouthpiece, yet he can't get any love from Vince.
The best was, I think Putty posted a promo that he did on Kurt Angle, and it was pretty good. I was like, they're totally butchering this character.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Butchering it. Well, what are you going to do? Maybe he accepts it. He's like, look, I took the money. I'm 36 years old. Might as well do what I got to do. If I'm here for 5 years, might as well be a clown.
Dude, the moment his contract's up, expect him to go to AEW.
He has to.
Has to. It does. It really does. It's freaking bananas.
Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you've enjoyed the conversation, if you've disagreed with our angles or what we want to have happen, feel free, download the Flick Chat application. It's where you can go to carry on conversations during Monday Night Raw, during the pay-per-views, during SmackDown, during this Saturday's Fyter Fest. We'll definitely put out a topic in one of the forums there regarding Fyter Fest. So if you're a fan of wrestling, there's no better place to talk professional wrestling than Flick Chat. It's really easy. All you got to do is download it, and then you can be in the mix, talk to Adam and John, talk to Dennis Farrell, talk to great guys in the know. Or if it's a Friday and you want to dial up the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, you can dial it up directly from Flick or anywhere else that you enjoy podcasts. Thanks, everybody, for listening. You've just downloaded the latest edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back next Friday. See ya.